Welcome to the Resistering Show with your hosts, Trina,
Tiffany,
Tanya.
Join us as we uncover, discover, and recover together.
Today's topic is Reiki.
Now, before we get started, I'm going to ask Tiffany to read a definition of Reiki.
This is Tiffany. So Reiki is hands-on natural healing using the universal life force energy. The term comes from the Japanese word rei, meaning universal, and ki, which means vital life force energy that flows through all living things. Reiki, an abundant, gentle, spiritual energy, is not tied to any specific religion or nationality.
Thanks, Tiff. And as we go along, we'll try to demystify that and put it in practical, explainable terms for some of you who don't know what Reiki is. So I wanted to start off today talking about how we actually got involved with Reiki. And everyone has their journey, both Tonia and Tiffany and myself, as far as healing. But I was introduced to Reiki years ago, and I had a couple of Reiki sessions, and my daughter had a couple of Reiki sessions, and I just didn't think much about it after that. I am on this spiritual journey, this spiritual growth, and when things present, I've learned to say yes rather than go seeking them, because sometimes if I seek too hard, I'm not ready for something, and then I freak myself out. So I've been using an animal communicator named Marsha Lynn Hamilton, and she's also a psychic. So she helped me a lot with my rescue dogs. We had a lot of issues, and she was really helpful and great with rehabilitating and loving them. And I also used her for a couple of psychic readings. She used to have some spiritual groups that met, and I told her I would love to join it, but I'm always working on Saturdays. And she said, "Oh, I think you would be great in Reiki when I offer a class." She said, "But I haven't offered one in a really long time." And I said, "Okay." So I went about my business. So, serendipity, what happens? A week later, she sends out a notification that she's offering Reiki Level 1 training class. So I call my two sisters and I'm like, "Hey, y'all, what do you think about doing Reiki Level 1? It's on a Saturday and Sunday. It's out in Conyers with Marsha." And we all signed up. We actually finished all 3 levels. Huge commitment for us. We did it together. It was really magical. But that's a little backstory on how we got involved in Reiki. So I'd love to hear from Tanya or Tiffany about what happened during our workshops. It was 3 weekends together. What realizations, what's happening with them?
This is Tiffany. So I also want to give a little bit of background too of how my Reiki journey started. So about 6 years ago, I picked up a book about Reiki and started reading it. And at the time, I wasn't really grounded. I had a lot of things going on in my life, but I was really drawn to the energy work. And there was a group that my friend Doris and I had started. We had a chapter. We didn't start the actual group. It was the Holistic Moms group. And we had guest speakers that would come in. And one of the guest speakers was Peg Driscoll. And she has a company called Life. And she was talking to us about yoga, and she was talking to us about Reiki. And we even went through some yoga poses and things like that. And I was really drawn in. Like, the Holistic Moms group had everything you could think of, from food to yoga to Reiki to acupuncture. So we had all these experts come in, which is just a wealth of knowledge. And something just drew me to her. So I had signed up a couple sessions with her and had some amazing experiences. I mean, from everything from Archangel Michael standing behind me and I could see the huge wings to, she only has 2 hands. Just so y'all know, she only has 2 hands. But at the time I had really hurt my knee and I couldn't walk up and down the stairs. And she had placed her hands on my right knee and my left knee. And then all of a sudden I could feel another hand at my ankle. And I'm like, and I have my eyes closed and there's a eye pillow over my eyes. And I'm like, I wonder how she could do that. Like, is that what's going on? But physically could feel the third hand. And that happened multiple times. And then after the session, because she had helped the energy to move through my body, it's like, hey, I can walk up and down the stairs. I feel so much better. So through those experiences, like, that's what I wanted. Then I had other experiences with the other Reiki practitioners, and I'm like, I didn't really feel anything. I didn't really get what I needed to. So that's kind of how my journey started and what I was yearning and looking for. So when Trina had said, hey, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, I do. Because I had multiple times, like, I really want to sign up for that. But for whatever reason, kept stopping myself from doing it. And so I went ahead and signed up with my two sisters. And so during that journey, I'll let Tanya give her experience, and then we can kind of circle back about how the attunements went and how each level went. How does that sound?
Well, I guess my experiences with the Reiki are a little different, where I've never had Reiki done before, except for when the class started. So I was a little bit confused about, I knew what Reiki was, that it was light healing, but I hadn't researched it, had never talked to anybody that had it done, that explained it to me, what was involved. So I was kind of like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go, this should be interesting. And then, but I have always liked to read books and about, light healing and with the angels and stuff like that. So I guess it all kind of flowed down to the accumulation of, okay, this is what I want to do. And I enjoyed the class. And
so thanks, Tanya. And as Tanya was speaking, I was also reminded that this was part of our re-sistering. And again, the definition of sistering is adding extra material to strengthen a damaged material. So we're building our bond. So this was, I'm getting chills. This was the first time as adults that we came together to do something. I mean, Tiffany and I have taken weekends together. Tanya and Tiffany have spent time together, but we've never consciously together, all three of us, done something. So we came together with our first Reiki one. And Reiki is basically, there is energy flowing through the universe, through the life force, and it, is concentrated coming through your hands to the recipient. But there's a lot to talk about in Reiki. So level 1 Reiki class, it was great. There were 6 of us in the class, and we did little exercises such as someone would be on a table and you would put hands over on someone to see if you could feel blockages or see if your hands tingled or see if you felt heat, or if you could tell what areas needed healing and needed help. And it was interesting because we really were drawn to a lot of the same areas. I get more of my messages auditory. I'm a little uptight, a little more of a perfectionist, a little in my head. So my feeling, it's more like a knowing sometimes than it is actually feeling it through my body. I also see colors around people and I can see auras, but my Reiki has been slow to activate. But we also would put someone in front of a white screen and she would say, okay, now think of something that makes you mad. And each of us would have to read that person's energy. And then she would say, okay, think of something that makes you happy. And so it was really interesting, the things that came up for each of us. And Tiffany, any experiences that you remember from level 1? Other than we all cried because it really was healing and emotional and stuff came up and it was freaky.
Yeah, and I made people cry too, which was really interesting. Made the instructor cry. And
yes, she did.
And she quickly said, whoop, that's not mine. Give that releasing that. So Reiki 1, that level 1 is really for the person themselves. So during what's called the attunement, that's when the symbols are given to help open you up so that you can remember how to self-heal. Like our bodies, like if we get cut, we don't have to think about healing that cut. Our body just does it. So it's the same thing that we're talking about here. So the Reiki is not really a mystery, a mystical thing that we don't all possess. So it's the remembering. So your body goes, that's right. I can call upon God. I can call upon my higher power. I can call upon the light that is and the energy that we all possess, because we know we have MRI machines that can see our energy. So we already know that it's part of us. So in our chakra system, which just has to do with, and we can go into that in more detail on another episode, but our chakra system, and we've all heard about the different colors in your chakras, not all of us, but the different colors that are associated. Have you ever heard the term green with envy? Have either of you guys heard that term?
Yes.
Green with envy.
Tell me more, though.
Okay. So we know that green is actually our heart chakra. So when you're saying that you're green with envy, it's really your heart chakra that really needs to be opened up. Have you ever heard you're a yellow belly? Have you ever heard that term, yellow belly?
Tell me more.
Okay. So that has to do with your solar plexus. It means you're cowardly. You're a yellow belly. You've never heard that? I can't believe that. We grew up in the same household. So those terms, like we think about them, where do they come from? So it really comes from your chakra system. So if you are feeling blue, are you feeling blue? It could mean that you're not speaking your truth. That comes from your throat chakra. So it's interesting how we have all of these terms that have come about probably for thousands of years. We don't really know where they're coming from. So that's part of Reiki Level 1 is opening ourselves up to understanding. And even similarly, if you're as a child or even an adult, my gosh, the first thing, if you hit your toe, what's the first thing? Well, second thing that you do as an adult. Normally the first thing could be like choice words. Second thing was you take your hands to that area that hurts. So you are providing that healing energy from source to that area. So for me, level 1, especially even after the attunements, I was invigorated. I was rejuvenated because I had already been practicing a lot of the self-healing and the healing with my children. Like we would practice the chakra colors. We would practice the energy healing. We would practice. So I didn't get the physical detoxing. Yeah, the physical effects. Like some people during that level 1, and Tonia and Trina can talk about that, you know, some people might experience headaches. They might experience diarrhea or constipation or just different things. And I'll let them explain what their experiences were. Mine, like I said, I had like this interesting energy. Like I felt pumped.
So thanks for that, Tiffany. And one of the things that comes up after level 1 Reiki training is you're told that you can practice on yourself, heal yourself. You can heal pets and you can heal plants. And I love that because the message is you need to heal yourself before you go out and start helping others. So it's I heal myself, I heal my immediate family, and I don't heal. Like my body heals, life force heals, all of that. But you work on yourself, your immediate family, then you have things to offer out into the world. But yeah, after that level 1, there's a little ceremony at the end. It was a 2-day workshop for us, and I got diarrhea. I was super tired. I had a couple of rashes. I was cranky. Like it kind of messed with my aura a little bit, but I really felt like it was detoxing, and that is common. What about you, Tanya? How did you feel after level 1, and did you have any other insights during the class?
For me, with the level 1 Reiki, it was Marsha was trying to get us to get in tune with ourselves and not doubt and to try to open up ourselves. So with me, it's like I was still a little bit like, what is this going, what is Reiki? What is this? And so I was a little guarded, and I had to go home and like do my own research. Is this what I want to do? Is this all kind of crazy, hokey pokey, what do they call it? Woo-woo stuff, So, and then I was like more comfortable because I was really kind of like a little like, And so I did get comfortable and I enjoyed the people that we shared the class with, the other 3 people. And it was just different to have everybody, they're the differencing in the same way that they could read us as in the different exercises, as Trina was talking about the white cloth and, touching the different body areas for the energy. So when we did the attunement on Reiki 1, I was tired. It tired me out. I mean, not to where I couldn't function or anything like that, but I was like, and I drank loads and loads and loads of water, and my hands got like almost uncomfortably hot. It's like they were almost hurting. So that was pretty much after the attunement is the very tired, a lot of water, but I felt good. It didn't, affect me. I felt kind of a release and a relaxation, even though I was tired, but felt good.
Thanks, Tanya. And so after that, we needed to wait 21 days before the next attunement. And that's just standard for Usui Reiki teachings. And that is a big deal in the Reiki world because this has been passed down. And Tiffany has a little more to say about that because she actually has done a little more research on the lineage and who you train under and things like that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say real quick, having to do with the 21 days, it does reflect upon Dr. Usui, his 21-day quest to develop the Reiki program, where it's actually, he meditated for 21 days. He took 21 stones with him. Like, this is kind of how the story goes. There's different versions, but so each day he would take one stone and throw it. And he's like, by the end of the 21 days, I will be enlightened and I will know how to heal and how to harness this energy. So, we kind of laugh. It's like, so if he would have taken 5 stones, like he could have done it in 5 days, or like, so that's also something like concrete, like 21 stones, 21 days. So we take that time, that 21 days, because our body is supposed to like our chakras reset 3 times. So each week. And that's why probably during that period of time, it's like you went through like, okay, well, this week I'm feeling this. And then by the end of that 3rd chakra reset, you're like, oh, okay, like I feel a little more energized. I don't feel as tired. I'm not having the same reaction. So it's, again, because it's opening up your energy lines. So that's all I really wanted to say about that.
Well, we kind of also go to a practical intellectual analysis of everything. All 3 of us, like we need to know.
Intellects.
Right. We research, I have to know, and then I can believe something, and then I can experience it. But during that time, we got together for our level 2, and it ended up just being us, the 3 girls, the 3 sisters. And that was a little disappointing on one aspect because we did like having other voices and other people in the room. But then on the other aspect, it was the way it was supposed to be. And it was funny because we kind of forgot about what was going on with our chakras and that we were being reset. And we were like, oh, no big deal. And all of a sudden we're like, well, in that time, we've started a podcast. We've cleaned up our room. I started a health coaching website, all this concrete stuff that had just been sitting out there for years, all of a sudden just came together and solidified. And it was kind of crazy in that short period of time. Like, we got shit done.
Yeah, we did. It was definitely interesting, like, to be able to, like you say, get that shit done. Like, how did we even get together? We just did it. And to be able to come together for Reiki 2, it was almost where, oh, do you guys still want to do it? We're like, yeah, we do. Like, yeah, we do. We need to get this done because there was this huge draw, this huge pull, and we knew like there was forward momentum. And I love what Tanya was saying, like, wait a minute, hold the phone here. Like, what is this stuff and what am I doing? And to still have some apprehension and guarded where I'm like, my personality, I'm an Aquarian, I'm like, woohoo, all in. And so some of my issues have always been grounding myself and knowing, okay, and I have a son that is an Aquarian also. And sometimes we're just flying around. It's like, wait, we got to put our feet back on the ground. So the Reiki 1 attunement and then going into Reiki 2, where it's, you can actually help other people besides like your immediate family, your pets, your plants and things like that, is to be able to offer that healing out to other people. And that was the level 2. And it was much more less hands-on, which was interesting. When we did our class, it was less hands-on and more intellectual and utilizing what we learned in a different way. Like, okay, now being able to offer this healing to other people. And I was jazzed, man. I had, if you want this, you can come, but also to remember the beacon, be the lighthouse, let people come to you. Don't try to run out and save the world. And it's okay. So that level 2, where you get the symbols to be able to use the symbols, and they just help in order to focus the energy to where it needs to be. And a whole other podcast could be experiences of some of my clients that I had. So, but So that was level 2 for me. And then level 2, I think I was a little more discombobulated that second, but also energized and wanting to move forward. But also mentally, it tired me out a little bit more, I think.
So can we talk about you practicing Reiki, Tiffany? And I was one of her clients, and she had a couple others, and it was pretty powerful. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Why don't you share your experience?
Okay. Tanya, did you want to jump in before I started?
No, you can go right ahead with your story.
So Tiffany is, in my vision, just like a Reiki healer, and so is Tanya. My plans to use Reiki are to incorporate it in health coaching and in other areas. And my daughter called me the other day. She's a whitewater rafting guide in Colorado. She did this training, and they got beat up a little bit because it was so rough, and she hurt her wrist, and she's like, "Hey Mom, are you a Reiki master now?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Can you send me Reiki for my wrist?" And I was like, "Oh shit, I need to pull out my books," and my first instinct was to call Tonia and Tiffany and get them to come help. And I was like, no, I can do this. But anyway, so Tiffany, it's funny because she's already got her business going. I love it. And I'm going to refer people to her. But first thing she did is she got 2 people. One of them was my boyfriend, which was awesome. But then I came over for a session, and I was like amazed. I was like, Tiff, you're like a professional. It's like you've done this forever. And I was only the 3rd person you had done.
Right. And, the interesting thing is, like we talked about level 1, level 2, and then as a Reiki master, it opens up these channels for you. But I was like, oh, it was already there. Like I had already been doing this, for a very long period of time. But somehow, like it's just like a remembering, like your soul remembers. And so go ahead.
So I get on the table. It's a massage table. She put on her Reiki, very Zen-like music. I had an eye pillow over my eyes, and I just went into this meditative state. And what she did is she opened up all my chakras. She started at my crown, and she started laying hands on different parts of me. And the first thing that happened to me is when she was at my crown area, I just saw purple, coming out of like my 3rd eye area. And then she went down to my throat area, and all of a sudden tears start coming out of both sides. And I just felt this release. But what happened is I was like, okay, we're not going to cry during this Reiki session because that's usually how I release. And so it was just a couple of tears. I wasn't sad. It just felt like she opened up my throat. And the funny thing about that, Tiff, is, I've been working on integrating all parts of me and not being self-conscious and actually being able to speak my truth and not being afraid anymore. And so it was like almost the final release for that. Like, I'm not afraid to release this podcast. I don't really care if, I look stupid, and, I just kind of let go of that, and I'm ready to step into, my experiences that can help others. So anyway, she gets to my throat and I feel this release. And then she gets to my stomach, and my boyfriend, there was some activity in his stomach, and I've had a lot of gut issues, and I have an autoimmune that has been in remission for a long time. And I thought, okay, I just saw a little black there. And when you got to my stomach, what did you think?
Well, I felt the same thing. It's like it feels a little bit cold. It feels, I can see the black kind of, but with Trina, because she's been working on her spiritual journey and working on her chakras, her body like showed me, like it was very clear, like the colors, the movement, and I could even feel her body helping to release what needed to be released and to move the energy through. Because that's the whole point, is that the energy moves through your body constantly. It's like water, how water just, ebbs and flows and moves through. So there were periods of time where I knew like your body was doing the work, because her body is doing the work. I'm just a facilitator. But it was interesting. It's like, oh, okay, well, and I would just thank her body for helping me. Like these little white blocks would chug down her spine, and it would kind of slow down a little bit, like they would on a train track. And I was like, no, keep going. So these are conversations, and they're not out loud, but they're conversations are going on in my head. And what I had even gotten to her lower back, and I've known her. So like, I'm
51 years.
No, because I'm not that old.
49
years.
years.
A lot older than me. So 49 years I've known her. So I was like, well, this is weird. I didn't know that she had any low back problems, which it was a weird thing. I was like, oh, that's weird. And then what she told herself was, so I'm going to just say what she said. After we were done, she goes, yeah, I really thought that you were going to have all this healing and feel all this stuff in my lower back, because that's where I have all this pain and all this stuff. And she goes, but I told myself, you don't have any low back problems. And I laughed because my thought was, that's weird. I didn't know she had low back problems.
And that's funny, Tiffany, because I started feeling Tiffany's hot hands at my knees, and I didn't feel any hot hands until she got to my knees. And I have some things going on with my knees, but I had knee surgery, but I'm recovering. But my lower back has been bothering me for a couple of years. Well, that's about how long I haven't been working out and exercising. So I was like, oh, she's going to really, her hands are just going to light my booty on fire when she gets to my lower back. And there was nothing. And the voice said to me, you don't have lower back problems. You have core problems. You need to keep working out. And I was like, doggone it, no wiggle room. But I did want to talk about this because this was really impactful for me. She had me turn over and she put her hands almost on my shoulder blades. Our mother used to call those angel wings. But she put them on there, and all of a sudden the tears just start pouring out, and I'm snotting everywhere and I can't breathe. And I had just flashes from childhood. It was flash after flash of all these different things that had gone on, both good things and kind of traumatic bad things. And it was just flash after flash of the three of us and our family of origin. But I wasn't feeling it. It was just like watching a quick movie reel. Like it was all like logging through it. And then this release. And it just released all of that from my body. Like I've been waiting to finish releasing trauma, and I just felt like a lot of stuff just got released. And again, it wasn't like I was upset. I had no control over the tears. It wasn't like I was crying. They just kept coming out. So it was pretty powerful for me, and I was so relaxed. And typically after a Reiki session, man, I'm cranky and mean, and y'all just messed with my aura. Some people feel elated. I just feel mad. It takes me a little while to process things. I mean, even when I do therapy or anything like that, other people are like, I feel great. I just got that all off. And 6 months later, I'm like, yeah, I'm starting to feel a little better.
Yeah.
So, but this time, I left and I felt really just light. And I was like, wow, Tiff, this was amazing. And it made me want to give Reiki to her. But like I said, like I'm on a different path right now. Like I'm going to utilize it, and I'm thrilled we did it, and I'm going to incorporate it. But it was powerful.
Thank you for, I'm kind of at a loss for words because so much is spinning in my head, because I'm so drawn to it. And, I'm not a real, I don't know. Thank you for that. And I have other people that I have experiences with. I don't really have their permission to talk about like their whole experiences or who they are, but it we can just use their experiences. It's interesting for me because I see things. I'm not as much auditory. And there was one of the clients, I couldn't see a lot of the colors. I was like, oh, this is a little frustrating. This is a little weird. This is a little odd. What am I going to do with this information? So part of what happened to me is I got another tool, which was a tuning fork. I had this tuning fork in my ear. Like, this is really weird. I'm hearing this ding. And it was resonating. I was like, so all I could do was say, okay, thank you. And I would just know that as soon as the tuning fork stopped, that the energy was that area was clear.
Wow.
And it was really cool. Like I was like, oh, thank you, because we do know that everybody's body is a little bit different, like how they send and receive. And if you can think of Reiki and walking into a room and the room feels really heavy, or you're like, or you're with somebody and you feel like kind of like really drained of energy, or you meet somebody and you're like, wow, this person is, working a snack bar at the local pool, and they're just drawn to them because of how their energy is. Like they have that real genuine smile, and you could just tell, like, I want to sit down with this person. I want this person to be around me. So that's part of what the energy does. Like when we're balanced, people are drawn to us for the right reasons, not to suck out our energy.
So Tanya, have you had an opportunity to use Reiki since we've done the classes? I don't want to talk too much about what you do as a profession right now, but you have some opportunities to actually use Reiki. Do you want to talk about that?
At first, I was sort of like you. I was real hesitant to get into the Reiki. I don't know if I was a little scared about doing it wrong or hurting somebody. And our teacher, Marcia, she was always like, it's always about intent, and the person giving the Reiki and the person receiving. So it's all about intent. If your intent is good and the person's open, you're not going to hurt that person. So my first attempt to use, my first time to use Reiki was when my mom had gotten injured, her arm, and I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, okay, let me ground myself real quick. And okay, I'm going to put my hands, up above and below her wound. And so I didn't have time to prepare and think. And it was just all kind of like when, as Tiffany was saying, your little child falls and they get hurt and you want to kiss their boo-boo. It's like, it was just all instinctual. It's like I did call in, God and the angels, and I grounded myself, and that's all I had time for. So it's something as quick as that you can do. And then my husband, I did a session on him, and he was like, oh, he has a lot of pain in his neck. So it for him, it was a temporary, but he's like, it did work, and I feel good. And then the next opportunity, I did try to do it on the little kitty cat, but she was kind of like, I'm not feeling that, so she let me do it one time, and then the next time, which was very, very different, and it showed us how to come together and do a group Reiki, was in the class. And I thought that was very, very powerful. And what was interesting is Trina said later, she's like, oh, I could have sent Reiki for you or Dad or, different people. And I said, for me, it wasn't a thought. It was just immediately Felix. Trina was immediately Kat. Tiffany was immediately Haley. And Marcia was immediately my dad. So it's like, I believe that was the correct people, that you didn't even think twice. You didn't doubt yourself, nothing. But that was a very interesting and very kind of spiritual, because we all connected and we were all very powerful, and all of our people, I believe, received it, and it was an amazing experience.
Well, thank you for reminding me of that. And it just reminds me too, group prayer, group intention, all of that. It was powerful. We sat in a circle, we all touched hands, and my daughter was having a little anxiety. She's doing something big this summer, something that not many women are able to do physically. And she was, it's a new experience. And I told her, she called me later that day and said, oh, I'm doing so much better. And I said, well, we sent you Reiki. And she goes, I think it worked, Mom.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So it was just, it was just fun, but thank you for reminding me of that. And again, coming together with that intention. So, so, so powerful. Love it. So what's your Reiki journey look like, Tiff?
Well, for me, I've already ordered my business card. So woo-hoo.
You go, girl.
Because again, it's something that has been in the mix for at least 6 years that I've put down on paper. And the beautiful thing is I'm just not letting the little things get in the way. And for me, I cycle between being really, really excited about something and then trying to like, wait a minute. So at this point, I'm letting it all flow and continuing to offer it. I even offered it to a little boy at the playground who probably broke his arm. I'm pretty sure his mom was real worried and going to take him. And I just asked, I said, do you mind if I touch his arm? And so gently, touching his arm. And he just kind of relaxed. And, he's like, yeah, it feels a little bit better. Not that I can we're not going to heal the break or anything like that, but just to offer that comfort, the touch, because I think that's part of what we're missing too after 2020. Mm. It's like the physical touch and being able to embrace somebody with a hug, and energetically, like we don't physically have to touch someone to offer that positive energy. So even though that physical touch, it provides that, I don't know, it's just different than, air hug, so.
And you're right. We really have been missing touch. And all of us have been fortunate enough to live with people or to have neighbors or to not be isolated. But there are people who haven't been touched in a year and a half. And that really plays on your psyche. But that's beautiful. And I support you. And I laugh because, I'm on a healing journey, a spiritual quest, and letting things happen. And I'm a health coach, and I've done it for many, many years, but now I'm going to do this on my own schedule, in my pajama pants if I'm doing a Zoom meeting, at a coffee shop. But to incorporate all of this, but I laughed because Tiffany said she did her business cards, and I said, okay, now a Facebook business page and a next door business page. And she goes, I'm taking a nap. And I was like, I feel ya. Because it's not that making a business card such a big deal, but what it represents to actually start stepping out on our own, to actually having a voice, the three of us doing this podcast together, to actually, come together and put something out there to be of service. But at the same time, we are healing. We're having ahas. We're growing. We're tired after these. I mean, they emotionally, like, we are cleansing and learning, and it's a lot of fun. And Tanya, what about you? What dreams do you have for Reiki? I know you're already using it. It's very practical in your life, but do you have any future plans?
Mine right now is I'm just sort of, as the people come, but my friends, my family members, then I'm like, oh, there's a lady I work with. I'm like, oh, can I practice on you? So it's just me at this point, just getting comfortable in the practice of it and but I do like to do that and feel, I've seen how powerful it can be, and just to continue to work on myself.
Thanks for sharing that, Tanya. And Tanya also has this just beautiful energy and this like healing touch also. And so I'm excited for all three of us. And Tiff's got something to add before we wrap this episode up.
So the Reiki principles are huge. And it says, just for today, I will give thanks for my many blessings. Just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will not be angry. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. Just for today, I will be kind to my neighbor and every living thing.
That is a perfect way to end. And one little note. Tomorrow, I'm doing an Akashic record reading. I'm going to find out all kinds of stuff about myself.
Awesome. With Stephanie.
I'll let you know.
Awesome.
So that concludes today's episode. We look forward to you joining us next time as we continue to uncover, discover, and recover.